stand up? So what do you feel when you hear this song? What do you feel? So this is very interesting. I was a professional DJ for 10 years, and this song was very popular in those days. You can sit down now. I just wanted to, get you going a little bit here. This song, when Prince made this song, he put in the normal bass line that you do when you do, a song that you need to dance to. But he realized, what? If I remove the bass line, people will have to imagine the bass line instead when they're dancing. And of course, I've played this song literally hundreds of times in clubs. And it's very, very interesting because people dance differently to this song because the bass line is in their head. And the mind is a very, very interesting thing. And I wish I could speak about the mind, but I actually don't know much about it. So I'll leave that to the experts, and I'll actually talk about stuff that I'm an expert on, and that is myself. This is an interesting day. So a friend of mine, he was a founder of the McKinsey, their Swedish branch, and he ran that for 25 years, very, very successfully. Sat on all these committees in New York, and was a partner, made tons of money, and we met him in London, and he had jumped ship. And I said, what the hell? I mean, he's got all of the blue chip guys in Sweden, including the king and what have you, in his cell phone, and direct contact to them. I said, why do you quit your job? He said, because I'm now turning 50, and I've seen so many people that between their 45 and 55, if they don't make a radical decision in their life to do some big changes, they'll go nuts. And that nuts can, it's all the stuff that's inside of you that'll come out. So you'll get a mistress, or you'll start to play golf, or I mean, all kind of weird shit. So he decided, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm actually going to take control and control the next part of my life. So so this is really what this day is about. So I like to call myself a reluctant entrepreneur. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm really more of a dreamer, and I do daydreaming really, really well. So that's why Steve and we get along really, really well. We sort of live with our heads in the clouds most of the time, right? And so I told my teacher, because he thought I was a total failure. And to be honest, if you look at my grades from school, I was. But I told him two things, when I quit school. So I said, I want to make a lot of money, and I want to write best-selling novels. So I've already achieved the first part, but I haven't even started with the second part. So that sort of, really sums up my thing. And thank you very much. So. But I'll tell you, because I was an entrepreneur most of my life. I paid my own salary for the last 35 years, and that means that for many of those years there was no salary. And you can ask my wife, so she'll tell you that there was many years with absolutely no salary. And I wanted to tell you some, stories from my desert years, if you can call it that. So we got married, and I think Annette's parents, they probably wondered, what the hell did she get herself into? So they often, every time they met us, they gave us $50 or the equivalent in Swedish kroner, or even in the church that we used to go to, they used to come knocking on our door and give us money, because it was so embarrassing to see us, literally in the city where we lived, when people see me walking down the street, they used to go around the block, not having to get in contact with me. That's how embarrassing it was. But I of course I had a quite successful career before I met my wife, and after that everything turned sour. And no, literally. I mean, there was like 5-6 years where everything I touched, they absolutely, you know, blew up. And I remember there was this. I thought I was going to have a breakthrough, and you know, because the thing was that I was really fascinated. I was always fascinated by, you know, what's next. I'm so curious, you know, that it's unbelievable. And curiosity, you know, it killed the cat, but it still hasn't killed me. So, you know, so so when the internet started to emerge, I was thinking, you know, how the hell can you, you know, do something out of this? And I tried this and that, and you know, this and that, and you know, of course, you know, nothing worked out. And you know, we had kids, and you know, all these things, and you know, it was just, I mean, some days I literally had to, you know, force myself to get out of bed, and there was even some days I couldn't get out of bed because, you know, things were just going so bad. Eventually, you know, I got a consultancy job, and I was so happy about that. And the problem was just that the place was very far from where we lived, and we had this beaten up old car that somebody in the church had given us, and that bloody car just stopped at every traffic light, and you know, the exhaust pipe was broken, and so all the, you know, fumes came into the car, and by the time I got to work, I was just so high I didn't know what I was doing. And it was the hottest summer in Sweden, and I think the last, you know, 75 years or something like that, and I had to travel, you know, an hour and a half to get there, and by the time I got there I was like, whoo, you know. And anyway, so I got this consultancy gig, and I was super happy because I was now going to be able to provide some income for my family, and eventually, so I worked there for 3 months, and they never paid me. So that wasn't all great. And anyway, so things got from worse to worse, and I thought eventually, okay, I have to go to the employment agency and see if I can find a job, you know, which I've never done before. So it was a new experience. So I went there, and so they looked at my CV, and honestly, you know, my CV was like, you know, DJ in gay clubs. Okay, right? So what do we do with that, you know? And you know, he got his own company, and that company went bust. That company was sold. And you know, it was like, so he looked at me and said, "What do I do with you?" I said, "I don't know. I mean, I've got 3 kids. You know, can you just anything?" So he said, "Well, you know, we have this job here. You can clean the beach this summer." I thought, well, you know, beach, summer, it could be worse. So I said, yeah, I'll take it, you know. And I asked how much does it pay, and you know, it wasn't a lot, but it was something. So I came home. I said, you know, I'm getting a job. I'm going there on Friday to sign the papers, and you know, we'll figure something out along the way. Please mind, you know, during this whole time, I mean, I was working like an idiot with various projects, presenting them to VCs, and you know, trying to come up with all kind of ways for things to work. And anyway, on Friday, I came back, and he said, "Oh, you're back. I didn't think you were going to come back. Sorry, you know, somebody else. We gave the job to somebody else." And I came home. I said, "You know, this is great." He said, "Why?" I said, "But can it literally get any worse? You know, can it? You know, I didn't get a job cleaning a bloody beach. You know, And actually, that was a turning point for me, because I remember that, you know, I thought, you know, it can't get much worse than this. You know, it was so incredibly, you know, humiliating. But anyway, so fast forward, I managed to finally get somebody to invest in my pipe dream here of that internet is going to be the new thing in travel industry. So I started a company called Mr. Jet. And you know, it was awesome. You know, they gave me 30% of the company, and I got to run this. And a year later, they fired me. Boom. Okay, so what do you do then? Well, so they, you know, through a lot of hassle, I managed to get $25,000 as a severance package, and with that money, I started what is now called Travel Start. And but that was also a very, very strange journey, and I'll just give you some, you know, nuggets from here and there. So we start the company, and I hired this young student. And he says, you know, if you put together a business report and publish it, you know, it'll probably give you a lot of, you know, exposure. So I did that, published it on the internet, and literally, you know, a month later, there was a company that wanted now to acquire my little startup in Sweden. And so I managed to sell that for, can you believe it, for $15 million, you know, and suddenly I was famous. I was in the papers, I was on, you know, in the news, I was here and there, and everybody wanted a piece of me. I thought, oh, this is great. The thing was just that they paid me in papers. They paid me in equity. But for me, the money didn't matter. For me, it was just that I had a bit of a breakthrough, and so the acquiring company was a German company, and they were backed by the likes of Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Telekom, all those bigwigs. And, everything looked great. I mean, they raised hundreds of millions of rand. Everything looked great. A year later, boom, they go bankrupt. And here I am again now, what the hell do I do now? I mean, it's like, so through a lot of series of events that happened, I managed to repurchase my company that I had sold them. And so this is 2001. And I was working like a dog because I thought this time it's gonna work, and I'm not gonna sell the company. I'm gonna fix this thing. And so I start to build it slowly, and so by September, in 2001, we were starting to have a little bit of liftoff. And then what happened? There was this 9/11 event, and of course, all the travel companies and airlines around the world, they just completely, failed. But the good thing was that, we somehow miraculously managed to stay alive, literally day by day. I mean, in Sweden, you have these, collection agencies that comes to your company and collect debts. And the company had so many debts, and they came there literally every day. And I said, I'll definitely pay you. I promise, so anyway, so it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. So literally every day when I went to work, I thought, this is probably going to be the last day, but I'm going to stay here till 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. I'm going to do it till the last hour. And somehow, miraculously, we just managed to do it little by little every day. And slowly the company started to, grow, and we became market leaders in Sweden, and everything looked great. In come this stupendous idea called South Africa. And me and my wife, we love this country, and we were always looking for a way, how can we get to South Africa? And so we decided, what? We'll hire somebody to run the company, and we'll move to South Africa, and maybe we'll open up Travel Start in South Africa. Okay, so we did that, and great, I was on a high for 6 months, here, and I was so lucky. And so what happened? Well, it took longer than us expected to start up the company here, and literally the company back in Sweden, almost went bankrupt in the process. So I needed to start now to communicate, to commute back and forth between here and Sweden to save the company in Sweden, and that worked great, while the company here started to grow. So we go fast forward to 2009, and now I'm really sick and tired of this, commuting. I'm tired of running business here and there. So I decided to sell off the, Swedish business and focus all my time in Africa, and do whatever we, could do here. And then, a couple of years ago, we decided to bring in investors, and on top of all these weird stories that you've just heard, suddenly the company now has plus 300 employee and is valued at north of $1 billion rand. How did that happen? I actually don't know. I was there, I did what I could, but because the whole company is just built on a heap of mistakes, on fuck-ups, on my stupidity, my childish dreams, and all these things, and so it was really, really, strange how this thing happened, and honestly, I cannot for a minute take any credit of what happened there, and if anything, I can take the credit that I've learned this really, really powerful prayer, that I've done so many times since, help me! And it actually works, and I've practiced that a lot, you know. So that's you know, I think that's my only claim to fame in this world here, you know. But I think, you know, it's a couple of lessons that I've learned, you know, and one of my key takeaways here, if you don't remember anything that I said here today, is that, you know, defeat is really temporary and breakthrough is eternal. So defeat is temporary and breakthrough is eternal. And I really believe that, because if I go back and think about when we had our first, you know, breakthrough, I sold a company and we became famous, you know, something was planted in me that told me, you know what, I can probably do this. I can probably take this to the next level. And honestly, the money did not care at all. It was just the self-confidence that I got from actually being able to do that. Now, so that's the one thing, you know. And I think another thing, you know, really is that, you know, the value system that we have, you know, determines the pain that we feel in certain situations, you know. And it's really, you know, where do we have our identity in life? You know, is it in money? Is it in a career? Is it in our beautiful wife? Is it in our whatever? You know, and so I think the identity that we have is super important. That it cannot be in sort of tangible things or careers or something like that. We need something bigger, you know, in life to live for. And another thing is that, you know, we need to be able to let things go. So we've let so many things going. I mean, leaving our home country, you know, selling off certain part of the company. Something needs to die for something new to be born. I thought about it many times. Here we have the fine-boss, you know, in order for the fine-boss to regrow, it needs to, you know, we need to have these fires. And I think it's really, you know, very, very interesting how that works. So some of the thoughts that I had for the back nine of our lives is that, you know, what brought us to where we are today will not necessarily take us to the next, you know, phase of our lives. And I think even doubling down to get to where we want to will actually have the exact opposite effect. I had an almost, you know, breakdown or, you know, burnout or whatever you call it.
Stefan, the question that has come through, just for you to answer, is there anything that's waking you up at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, jet lag. On a serious note, yeah, jet lag actually. We came home from California a couple of days ago, but I think that, yeah, I think, you know, what I'm struggling with, like, you know, many men my age is maybe, you know, missing the point in life, you know. What is really, you know, why am I doing all the stuff that I'm doing, you know? And I think from my point of view, I think that, you know, it is so important that, you know, we hold on to our dreams, you know, and Annette likes to say that we hold on to our promises. And I'll tell you, this is really bizarre. But you know, when I was a teenager, you know, in school we had to write this essay about what is your life going to look like when you're 40 or something like that. And in the essay, the only thing I remember that I wrote is that I wanted to have a beautiful wife and, you know, great kids, and I wanted to live by the ocean, and I want to have the mountains in my back. And we live in Llandudno today, and you know exactly what that looks like. And it's so weird, you know. And I've been thinking a lot about it lately, you know. For the rest of my whatever 20, 30, 40 years, whatever I have left, you know, there's so many things in my life that I still see that is unfulfilled. But I really believe that they're going to happen, you know. And it's not got anything to do with more money or, you know, anything like that. But it's just stuff that I want to do in my life. And so, you know, this is one of the messages that I want to send to you, for you people that are, you know, not 25 anymore. It's like, really hold on to those promises and those dreams that you have, because, you know, I really believe that, you know, you can that you can get into those things if you don't give up on them. And I think, you know, as we go into the first part of our life is really just building the foundation for the last part. And then it's stupid to double down and do more just to chase the pipe dream of whatever that is, you know. But you know, but really hold on to those deeper things. And this is one of the reasons I think Steve is putting on this show today, is that he feels that he's got dreams. And actually we haven't talked about this particular part at all, but I think, you know, he has these dreams that this is going to be part of. And I can really see that in a few years' time, you know, this can be maybe a movement, you know, who knows. Thank you.